There we go.
Excellent. There we go. Perfect. Yeah, so the thing is, Erin, the beauty of this coronavirus is that I've actually had a chance to catch up on reading, which I haven't had a chance in a really long time. And I was just really blown away by your book and how you blend scientific research that you've put many, many years into studying with your vast knowledge of the body and of Pilates. And I was just really like, I need to know more about this. And yeah, so I just wanted to talk to you and kind of figure out um, how people could do this at home, because a lot of people at the moment are suffering big time. They don't have access to their regular therapies and maybe feel like it's outside of their control. This scoliosis that's happening to them. And I kind of thought it would be a cool idea for us to do this virtual lesson to show people that there is a lot that they can do from their homes in order to manage and maintain it. But the first step is kind of analyzing your particular body to see what's going on. So that's kind of the reason we got on today. So thank you for coming on.
Yeah, it's been interesting. So something that I have noticed over the past many, many years is I've worked with people at my Pilates studio, Spiral Spine Pilates, but then as I've traveled around the world teaching scoliosis workshops, but then doing virtual lessons with people around the world, is that the body, the scoliotic body responds to stress usually negatively. So when all this stuff happened, I had this sinking, like the coronavirus happened, I had this sinking feeling in my gut. And I'm like, oh my gosh, the scoliosis world is going to suffer hugely during this time, because you can't go to your normal massage therapist. You can't go to your normal rolfer. You can't go to your normal acupuncturist. You can't go to your normal Pilates studio. You can't do the things that you normally do to manage your scoli, but then the stress itself will bear down, usually in psoas, usually in some of the upper traps, and that will twist up scoli more and make the cob angles worse. And so I am fearful that, and because people just aren't moving more, they're not moving as much because they're inside their houses. I'm hoping that I'm wrong, but I am guessing that the scoliosis community en masse will suffer greatly once the ban has lifted and we can all leave our houses and people go back to their practitioners or to their orthopedic surgeons or whoever, and they get cob angle measurements with x-rays again. My guess is they're all going to be a lot worse. So it doesn't have to be that way. It absolutely does not have to be that way. But when people don't know, they haven't owned their scoli, they haven't analyzed it, they don't know how it twists, they don't know how it turns, they don't know what to do about it, then we just get caught in this world of fear. And then once they can go back and get their x-rays, they see it's worse and they're like, well, I'm just going to go get surgery because there's nothing else for me to do because it just got, 10 degrees worse or 15 degrees worse or whatever. So, yeah. So I think I've noticed throughout the past when I work with clients, the first thing that we always do is analyze the back. And we're going to do that here and it's going to be really fun. But emotions, when people have scoli, they start to go crazy. They start to become bigger in people's heads when they don't know actually what they're dealing with. And I see that all the time with people. So what we're going to do does not take the place of an x-ray. We're not diagnosing scoliosis through this. We're not saying what your cob angle is. But as you have seen, and what I show in my latest book, Analyzing Scoliosis, which is this guy, it gives a person, when you do these things, it gives a person a picture of what their back looks like. And right now, no one's getting an x-ray of their back. You can't go to the doctor get an x-ray of your back, because these issues are not life-threatening issues right now. So this is how we're going to start learning about our Scoli. And it's really fun too. So we're going to have art class today.
Yay! I'm excited. So what's the first step, Erin?
Which I've been doing with my sons, who I'm now homeschooling at home because their school is closed. So art teacher Erin is now in session. My son said to me last week when I was doing something with them, and they were like, "Mom, I didn't know you were an artist." I was like, "I'm not an artist, but yes, I can draw." So it was pretty funny when the things that my children are learning about me right now.
Things they've never known before outside of Corona.
You didn't know your mom was a superwoman? She is.
Literal superhero legend of the scoliosis world is Erin Myers, everybody.
I love it. Okay, so the first thing that you need to do when you create a picture of your back is do dot stickers. And you already took these pictures, Eva, because I can't physically put this on your back. So do you, I have them pulled up on my phone because you sent them to me. Are you able to put them up online, or do you want me to show the picture of them?
Oh, I can put them up online. That's no problem, Erin.
Okay, so I have it pulled up on my phone, and I've got some paper here, and I'm going to draw out Eva's back. So first off, when you do dot stickers, what you're going to do is you're going to put, I like to use dots like little circle stickers that you can get like in an office supply store, but some of you may not have access to that right now, or if your office supply store is out. So you can use any form of sticker that you have. And if you don't have a sticker, use a marker. And that's what Eva used in her pictures. What kind of marker did you use, Eva?
It was actually just a big one, Erin, and we found it actually washes off just fine, so it's not going to leave a stain.
Cool. You don't have black dots all over your back right now?
Right now, I think I actually do.
You still have them. Oh my gosh. Will you take your don't take your whole shirt off, but so you can see, go up a little bit higher, Eva, and then we can see your back. There we go. So Eva put the dots so much she had them draw on her back. That was so good, Eva. That's so good. That's perfect. No need to strip. The video.
That's our show here. Different type of show.
So, all right. So what you want to do is you want to put a sticker or a dot on the spinous process of each vertebra. So the spinous process is if a person rolls forward, you will feel a sticky outy part on each bone in the back. And that's when you like touch someone's spine, when they roll forward, that's the spinous process. The vertebra is a lot bigger forward and has some stuff going out to the side, but you're just touching this one little piece. So you're gonna put a dot either at every single little bone on the back, or you can skip a vertebra. It doesn't really matter. You just really wanna get a big picture of what it looks like. And I go through this step by step in my book, but this is a picture of it. This is my back, and actually that's my husband's back. So he's got a little scoliosis, a different kind of scoliosis, and this is, I don't know if you can see it, Eva's back.
Yeah. Do you know where we kind of got a bit confused, Erin, was just with like my particular case, I wasn't sure if a bit was vertebra or a bit was hardware, because I know I still have some in there, and parts of my back, especially around the scar, they feel quite numb, and I can't feel much. So that's why I wasn't sure if that was actual bone or that was a screw or something, you know?
Yes. So, and that's what I was looking at your back and looking at the scar, and that will be a topic for discussion in about 30 seconds. So, all right. So this is what I have Eva's name at the top, and then I'm going to do a different marker, and this is her head, and that is her hair. Her hair is a lot prettier than this. But this is it's the back of the body. If it was the front of the body, I just put a smiley face. So if we look at Eva's back here, I know I'm speaking to like third person and then first person. So we go upper right and then lower left. You can see that. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It's not, we're not trying to get the exact precise Cobb angles here. We're just trying to get the overall picture, and you'll see why in a second. So, yeah, upper right, lower left. So it's going to go upper right, lower left. And now if we look at this again, Eva, which shoulder sits a little bit higher?
I feel like the right one, so where the thoracic curves out towards, sits a little bit higher.
Exactly. So I'm just going to make the shoulder line a little bit uneven, and it'll help us to make help us to put the pictures together. Now, I had you put a dot on your SI joints or your PSIS, which are the little marbles at the top of your sacrum in the back. So if you
that was the ones. I was trying to find like the iliac crest, and is that's the same thing?
So I'm gonna do this. So in the book I have iliac crest, but I think here I don't know, you might have done sacrum. So so if you see here, so the iliac crest, if you go and you karate chop in at the waistline and you push down, that's the top of the iliac crest. That's the top of your pelvis. So if it's even and you karate chop and push down, then you can put dots right here. Or, well, I don't have this in the book, but this is totally fine too, is right down here, you're going to kind of feel your marbles. They're like little, you feel like marbles. They're little bony circles. And that's your SI joint.
Oh, because like the hips feel even, Erin, but the marbles don't.
Yeah, yeah. So what we're trying to feel, yeah, on here, on your picture, I see that the dots are uneven. And that's, I think, because maybe you hit the SI joint. Now, so what we're trying to do with this is to determine if you've got a leg length discrepancy, because that's going to play into how we pad. I don't think you do. Do you know if you have one leg that's a little longer than the other?
It depends. Like some days, if I'm like scrunched up on my right side, so if I sleep with my curve down on the right side, I will have a leg length discrepancy. But then other days when I'm more stretched out, it will just be the same length.
Okay. So when we're dealing with this is the muddy water that you have to, when you work with a client or when you're doing this at home by yourself, that you have to wade through the murky water to determine if the bones of the legs are actually the same. If it's, so are the femurs, the big leg bone, or your tibia on the lower leg bone, are they right and left the same, or are those uneven? So you can have in the soft tissue right here in the concave area of the low curve, that could get very tight and pull the hip up, making it look like an uneven leg length discrepancy, but it's soft tissue that has made that happen. So that's the area. So if you notice that there are times in your life when your legs feel totally even, I'm going to go ahead and say you probably have no leg length discrepancy, and it's soft tissue, not bone. What have you ever, in your doctor's appointments and surgeries and other stuff, has anyone ever mentioned bone being uneven in your legs?
No, Erin, I agree with you. I think my femurs and tibia are all the exact same lengths. It's just to do with soft tissue sometimes.
Because some people's scoliosis is started by one leg being longer. And when that's the case, we're going to deal with the situation a lot differently. Did I pause for a second?
Oh, it just froze there, but you're back now.
Okay, so I'll say it again. So some people's scoliosis is caused by, if this is the top of the pelvis, is caused by one leg being higher and it shifts the pelvis. And then the spine will create scoliosis on top of that.
Okay.
But if the legs are even, then it is not the leg that caused it. It's something else that caused it. So,
Okay.
so we would deal with it a lot differently depending. I love it. We would deal with it a lot differently depending on if leg length discrepancy is present. And I have pictures in my book of how you would deal with that. So, but yours isn't, which is great. So this is my picture thus far of your back, Eva. So we have upper right curve, lower left curve, and then I made a triangle for the pelvis. That's nice and level and even. If you had a leg length discrepancy, this line wouldn't be level. It would be like this.
It tilted up slightly, yeah.
Okay, so now we need to determine which way your rib cage rotates. When I work with clients, I use a scoliometer, which is, let's see if it can show up. There we go. I use a scoliometer to measure the rotation of someone's ribs and someone's back. And I'll have this and I'll go down the back and it'll tell me what degree of rotation one's back is at. And you can get this app online, and you can have your loved one who you're living with do it on your back. And I talk about how to do that. But we can figure out from your dot stickers which way your spine rotates. So, and most people that have scoliosis can tell which side sticks out more. So with your upper curve, Eva, so if we're dealing with the upper curve, which is this curve, you can even tell by the shadowing here, and you can tell even by putting your hands on your upper back, which side sticks out more in back.
Oh yeah, it's the right thoracic for sure.
Exactly. So we are going to, gotta find a new color marker. So I am going to draw, so since this is the side that sticks out most in back, I'm going to draw a circle. Ooh, my marker's dying. Really, my kids have been using the markers a lot. Okay, this side is the side that sticks out. Now, here's a trick. Almost always, in most Scoli cases, the convex side of a curve is the side that's going to stick out in the back.
Because it's derotating towards the back.
Correct.
Or it's rotating towards the back.
Correct. And then it's rotating into the concave side. So the concave side is what's forward and inside the body. It's a funny way that I remember this. So concave, which is the inside of the curve, the inside of every curve, the way I remember this is I have a cave over my head and I'm inside a cave.
That makes sense, yeah.
So here we have a cave and it's inside. It's what's going in. So now even your lumbar is a little trickier to figure out. So you have a major upper curve here, and then you've got a minor curve down here. It's harder, and I can't put a scoliometer on your back, but knowing what we know, that it always goes into the curve, I'm going to make an assumption, and I can see by the shadowing of your lumbar spine and the built-up portion of your muscle, that your lumbar curve rotates this way. It rotates the other way.
Yeah, so this area is the convex. The left lumbar is the convex, and the right lumbar is the concave.
Correct. So and for everyone who's doing our art project at home with us, with your own curves, you need to know every single curve, every single side bend has a convex side and a concave side. So if you have two curves, then you have a convex, a concave, a convex. If you have 3 or 4 or 5, some people have lots of little curves. You have all of these convex and concave curves or sides of each curve. So that being said, if Eva hadn't had surgery in the past, we would be able to go a little bit quicker into doing what's next. But we're going to take a little hiatus to put the pieces together about what has happened to her spine in the past. So Eva, I want you to give me a little down low on what you remember about how many surgeries you've had, how much was fused, what's taken out, what's still in, and I'm going to write it down while you talk to me.
Sure, yeah. So from T3 to T4 was fused with Harrington rods. That was done when I was 12, and they stayed in for 6 months. Now the thing is, I had a very, very, very severe Cobb angle, particularly in the thoracic. So what they decided was to not fully fuse the spine straight, and that's why I still have asymmetry in my back, so it's not fully straight. But they did partially correct it so that the spine was stabilized and it wasn't going to curve any further. After 6 months, the scar started opening up. We found out there was infection in the back, so the Harrington rods had to come out again. So then after that, then I just wore a cast around my torso for about a year just to kind of hold the fusion in place. And then after that, I haven't had issues. Obviously, I still have asymmetry, but I'm able to manage it very well through just like strengthening the muscles that surround the curvature.
Okay, so T3 through L4, is that correct? Was
yes.
The original fusion? All right. And so T3 through L4, which is T3 is about, I don't know, it's probably right about here, and L4 is all the way down here. So, and they were Harrington rods. They were not, so it was just two long rods and it was screwed at the top and screwed at the bottom?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so Harrington rods, there are most of the Harrington rods, which they don't usually use very much now. There's screws for these long rods at the top on that one vertebra, and then there's screws at the bottom vertebra. And theoretically, there's no other screws along the way. So theoretically, those vertebrae still had the possibility to move because no metal was put in them. Do you know, for you, Eva, this sounds super gross, did they shake bone or anything in the vertebra in there to make them not move? Because some people do that.
Not that I'm aware of, Erin.
Okay.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So, and this is where I've been playing around with some of my clients who have Harrington rods, where technically, if I'm really cutting hairs, the vertebra that never had metal in them could still move. Because there are certain rules for fusion that we have to abide by, but because you have no, to my knowledge, you don't have any metal in your back right now, do you?
No metal in my back right now, no.
Okay. It's so when people have hardware removed, the question remains, do we work with that spine and treat it like it's fused? Or do we treat that spine like it's not fused? Because the rules are different. So if and I'll go over these rules real quick, but let's just do this. So, because this is the question mark. So I'm just going to make this line blue because that is where you were fused. If you at home are not fused, you've never been fused, you don't do this stuff. So this is the question mark. If you're fused, the rules are that you never try to move the part of your back that's been fused because it could throw you back into surgery. I have a teacher at my studio that's been fused and all the hardware's in there. She's been screwed at every single level, about 12 or 13 vertebrae, and has 2 rods on top of that. We do not attempt to move that. Even though she's still twisted, we don't try to move it because a decision was made that this is where the back would be, and it's been literally bolted into place. We've had that have come to us that have attempted to move in the past, and their rods broke. And they come to us. It throws someone into another surgery. So regardless of if you think that the surgery was done well or not well, as a practitioner, if someone has metal in their back or is still fused, you need to determine if the vertebra can still move. And in your case, I don't know. And so have you found, Eva, that your spine is mobile or not? Or do you not try to move it?
Oh no, Erin, I do things that like I do things as if I've ever like I don't even really consider that I've ever had a fusion. Like I squat with like 80 kilos on my back, which I wouldn't obviously recommend to most people with scoliosis, but for myself it's fine. So I would say I'm not the most mobile, especially in my thoracic, but I'm definitely more mobile than if I had still had the rods in.
Cool. Okay, so now we get into, so we've created the diagram sketch, which is, this is not diagnostic, but in essence, if you don't have access to an x-ray, this is going to give you the picture of what your back looks like. Not exactly. Let me see if I can find mine in here real quick. Maybe. Yeah. Okay. So this is my back, not this picture. So this is an x-ray of mine, and this is my diagram sketch. It is not exactly the same, but for the most part, you can get the gist of where the spine curves. And for exercise, you just need to know the spine goes here, the spine goes here, which will then tell us where to place pads and then how to exercise from there. I don't need to know the exact comb angle to figure out how to start to exercise with Scoli. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, you just need a basic outline of where you want to be bringing the body back into alignment.
Exactly. So, okay. The question here is pad placement. So if someone is not fused, like myself, you would place it on the convex part of the curve, the part that's sticking out when you're on your back. Because then when you're laying on your back and a pad's under that sticky outy right part, it's going to start to force to push the right side forward when you're on your back, and the left side will start to pull back due to gravity.
Whereabouts on the is it going to be like underneath? Because I know for myself, I have a massive sticky outy bit. So is it going to be underneath that, or is it going to be at the top of it?
It's going to be on it. The goal of the pad, let's see, I have not worked out yet today as I was homeschooling this morning. I would be probably pretty twisted. I don't know if you can see it. Can you see that this is further out, Eva?
Yes, I can, Erin. Yeah, slightly.
If I was lying on my back, my pad would be at the apex, the most sticky outy part. So that when I'm laying on my back, pretend I'm on my back, that it would physically push this side forward and allow this side, which is too far forward, to drop down due to gravity, and that's where the breath would go.
That kind of unspiraling, untwisting.
Exactly. That's the goal of it. So for you, we're going to treat your back like it's unfused. And you have so much body knowledge that when you're playing around with this, you're just going to have to vibe it out and be like, yeah, I feel okay, or that does not feel okay. And then in your head, you're going to go back to the fused rules. So this is where your pads would go based on all of this. So your pad would go right here.
At the very apex of that sticky outy bit.
Exactly. And we have two curves. So, well, we have another one on top and down below, but we're going to ignore those. And then you're going to put your second pad down here because you have another convex area of a curve.
So where would you put it on bottom if you don't have like ribs sticking out on bottom?
Yep, yep. So you have two options. Some people, some people like to put it on the muscle area that is more pronounced. And some people like to put it a little bit more on the pelvis.
Yes, actually that you probably find this a lot, but that like left QL is probably my tightest muscle in my whole body. It like sometimes screams out for lengthening.
So I would play around with it and put it on your left QL, put the pad on your left QL to push it forward, and it might just start to chill the QL out so the right side can drop down and slowly start to fire.
That makes total sense, Erin. Yes.
As you're doing this, the goal of padding is to untwist the curves. So if the curves are twisting here, you want to untwist it. So your pad either would go upper right and lower left, which is the same as mine.
So with the actual diagram itself, the clockwise and anti-clockwise, that's the way the spine is twisting. So we want to do the anti of that when we're doing the pad placement. Is that right?
Yep. We want to untwist it. Exactly. Yep.
Okay.
So if this is the sticky outy part going back, the pad goes there to push it forward. This is the sticky outy part coming back. You want to put the pad there to push it forward.
Okay, that makes total sense, Erin. Yeah, absolutely.
Now, just to throw a little wrench in, if you're fused, we would not do that because the goal of these pads is to really kind of force the spine to untwist. But if you're fused, we don't want to forcefully do anything to your spine because it would jar the bone and the metal that has been placed. So some of the fusion clients at my studio, they just don't like any pads. They just want to be there and it's fine, and we work them out with no padding. Okay. Now, for if we have some people at our studio that were fused and they're really pretty rotated still, and they've got a pretty deep top angle still. So when they lay on their back in that fused position, it's not comfortable because one side so forcefully hits the back. So if that's the case, let's pretend for a second that we're treating you like you're fused. Okay. This is the side that hits. My guess is when you lay down, Eva, that your left side does not hit. Is that true?
That's correct, Erin. Yes.
So if that was the case and I wanted to start working you out on your back, if I didn't pad under here to just take some space up, because this is hitting the mat and this is not hitting the mat, it would actually be forcing you to already derotate.
Yeah, just because of that space there.
Yep. So if your client is fused and you don't want to untwist them and it's uncomfortable for them to lay on their back, then you just put a little pad here, and you might even put a little pad here.
So under the two concaves.
Exactly. Which is opposite than if you're working with someone who is not fused.
Under non-fused, it's the convexes you want to pad, and then concaves for the fused clients.
Exactly. And so it's just, so that's kind of the overriding rule of padding. But you need to carefully, with every person at home, for you too, you need to just feel, how do I feel with the pad here? Like for me, even though I'm the same as you, I don't like a pad under my pelvis. Even though I have a minor curve, it doesn't feel good for my pelvis to be padded there. So I only use a pad up here. So even though we know the rules, you need to decide for yourself how you feel in them. Most clients, when they find the right size of padding and the thickness and the viscosity of it, how soft or how hard it is, once they find it and they find the right place, they'll lay down on it and they'll go, oh, that feels so good. It's like a Goldilocks thing, though. We got to try a few things until we find your perfect one.
What's just right? Yeah, because you know, when you're saying that about the pads, I was kind of thinking about the one under the thoracic, and I'm like, oh, that part like already like hits the floor the first. Like, what's really crying out to be padded is like the left QL, because that never gets to see the floor, if you get what I mean.
Totally. And so you might just, you know the rules, and then you play with different pads. So I don't have my pads with me, but what I usually use is shelf liner, like stuff that you put on your kitchen cabinets so that your plates don't move. And it just has a sticky quality, because at my studio, we can put it under them and they're on equipment, and then the pads don't move, and then the client doesn't move on equipment. So, and we just fold it by like a foot by 2 feet, and we fold it in half, and then we make like a roll out of it. So it'll eventually be about that thick, maybe an inch, maybe like 2 centimeters.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah.
So, but some of my clients, I have some bean bags that are much harder and much larger, and they can end up being, you know, 1.5 inches or 2 inches high, and there's not give. I mean, they lay on that and it doesn't move, which is going to forcefully make their rib cage move around it and de-rotate them. For me, that doesn't really usually feel very good on my back. I like a smaller pad that's a little softer. But I have some of my younger clients specifically who are in their teens, they really like the more aggressive pad. Like I'll give them the softer pad in the beginning. They'll be like, Miss Erin, can you give me the bigger pad? And I'm, sure. And I give it to them, and this look comes over their face. And because it forces their body to untwist, they go, oh my gosh, that feels so good. Because all of a sudden this pad has forced their spine to go more towards a straight line.
And why is that with the younger clients, Erin? Is it because their vertebrae is more malleable at that age, or what do you think?
Yeah, usually their spines are more moldable, and so they can untwist easier. And so with people whose spines are set in stone, well, it's not set in stone, but more set, especially with older clients. Like I've got a handful of clients that are in their 70s. We do not use the aggressive one. We use a really small one, and we're just a little bit and a little bit and a little bit, and that's enough. And that's something that they do every day instead of like a really big push once or twice a week.
Yeah, I imagine that would be quite aggressive on like an older person's vertebrae.
Yeah. So and sometimes if you don't have any of these things available to you, you just need to grab something that you can put under your back in that place. So do you have anything that you can use right now, Eva? I want to get you on the
Yes, actually, I have one of those little bean bags you were talking about. I have one of those, like, do you know those microwavable ones?
Perfect.
I have one of those, and then I have a little bit of kind of a resistance band type of thing that would be less thick, that I could put under the other area.
Let's try it. A rolled up pair of socks works out well too.
Ah, well, those I have very handy, Erin. Maybe we'll use those. Rolled a pair of socks, huh?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is as I've really gone through scoliosis research over the last 10 years and have started to work really intensely with Scoli people, there's a lot of other methods that are great out there, but there's big barriers to entry. So someone who doesn't have a lot of money at their disposal or doesn't have anybody near them, it's like it leaves them hopeless because they don't have access to it. And so my goal with doing this stuff and taking off the pair of socks that are on your feet currently Exactly. And putting them under their back, we have just absolutely diminished the barrier to entry. So everyone can start to work on their own spines. And that's my goal.
That's amazing, Erin. Like, I know that's such a obstacle for a lot of people is they feel like scoliosis is a rich person's
Yeah.
condition and they can't afford treatment, but this just breaks down that barrier. So
Yeah.
thank you.
And there's always, I want everyone to hear me out loud and clear. There are always things that you can do at home that you can figure out how to do. And I have them in books, I have them in videos. And so there are things that you can do, especially during this time when none of us can leave our houses. So let's play around. I want you to lay on your back even. You might have to have the screen go down with you.
Yeah, I'll tilt this down here a bit here so you can see her.
So we have Eva's picture, which looks like this as a reminder. So she's going to lay on her back. Yep, you got it, Eva. And we're going to play around with a pad on under the right rib cage area and then something under the left pelvis. I can see that the pelvis is definitely rotating. How does that upper one feel, Eva?
Yeah, it feels quite elevated off the ground, but I think if I get something underneath here, it should be a bit better.
Yeah.
Have something over here, and little resistance band here.
Cool.
All right, let's do this. So I'll just kind of fold this up here.
Perfect.
Put it up there. So, whoa, that left you well. Okay.
How does that feel? And you might find that one has to be higher than the other or one needs to be less.
That feels actually pretty good there. Like I have this under the tip of my shoulder blade.
Yeah, I actually want it right below your shoulder blade because all of us who have upper right curves, if you put it physically, like the pad is underneath the shoulder blade, like in the pad is right on it, then it'll tip your scapula and tip your shoulder blade and your shoulder. So I want it to go more just towards your bottom so you don't have it at all on your shoulder blade. How does that feel?
That feels much better there, Erin, yeah. And a little bit under, slightly to the left of the shoulder blade.
Cool. And you just want to make sure when you put the pads in that they never cross the midline because we're only dealing with the convex side of each curve.
Yes. So that's still on the right side of the vertebrae.
Perfect. Okay. So stay where you're at, Eva, and I'm going to draw on this thing on your diagram sketch, but I'm going to talk to you. So when you're here, now you have your pads in place, but now I want you to figure out where breath goes. So wherever your pads are not, that's where your breath goes in the back.
So on the concave areas.
Exactly. The side that's having a really hard time touching the ground, I want you to blow that area up with breath. Like you've got a balloon and you're blowing up a balloon in the back, trying to get that side to touch the ground.
Okay, let's try that. And naturally wants to go into the convex areas.
Exactly. So this is way harder than some people think it is because everyone who has Scoli is really good, almost an expert at breathing into the back part of the concave, the convex areas. That's just naturally where we want to breathe. So focusing your breath into the concave areas is very challenging. That's the side of the lungs that are a little on the squished side. But everyone has the availability to blow the lungs up so that they are no longer compressed. So everyone at home, while Eva's trying to figure out how to breathe there, I'm going to put an orange star where she's breathing right now. So she's breathing in the upper left side, in the back, where she has no pad, and the lower right side. The upper left is going to be not easy, but easier because her lung is right there. The lower right is definitely going to be a little bit more challenging because there's no lung there. The only way she's going to be able to get any kind of expansion is by accessing her diaphragm down here, and that's more challenging. So Eva, you can focus on just the upper left or just the lower right, or you can focus eventually on both at the same time. That usually takes a little bit of focus to do, but you have enough body knowledge that I know you could do that.
That's so tough there. Oh my gosh.
So for you guys at home, sometimes this is all you're going to do for a little bit. You're going to diagram out after you do your dot stickers. You're going to place the pads, figure out where that goes. Just literally just laying on pads and focusing on where your breath goes is a big step. And sometimes that's enough for a very, very long time. And that alone is enough to start untwisting you. And as Eva's laying there trying to breathe in her left back, I'm going to tell you a quick story. So I was working with a client years ago. She was older. She was probably in her late 60s or 70s. And she came to me. She had a very twisted spine. She was probably 50 pounds overweight. And I was like, oh my gosh. It was the first time she wanted to move or had moved in like 40 years. So I wasn't really hopeful that we would be able to do a lot. And she didn't live near me. She was like 2 hours to me. So she drove to have a lesson. And I saw her like 4 months later. When she came back, I barely recognized her back from what it was 4 months prior. And I was like, what on earth have you been doing? This is amazing. And she said the padding that she had chosen at home were hard soap bars. So hard soap bars. She had found soap because that's all she could find at her house. And she stacked two on top of each other. And she put a washcloth around them and rubber bands around them. And she laid on them for like an hour a day.
What?
I would never have been that aggressive with someone's back at her age and the curvature that she was at. But she came in, I mean, her curvature, her rotation was like 15 degrees less. And it's what exactly you're doing right there, Eva, of allowing the upper right back to shift forward, allowing the upper left back to shift backwards, and just allowing the body to untwist. It was amazing. So even though soap bars are not what I choose as my pads, you could use soap bars to untwist your back.
That is wild, Erin. That is unbelievable. Oh my God.
Eva, how do you feel right here?
Yeah, I feel like as I breathe into the left upper right, it's kind of it's opening up that QL muscle, and my feeling is that's where I need to release if I want to see the other side drop down into it, if that makes sense.
Yep.
And I'm finding it harder to breathe into the right lower. To be honest, I didn't know this was so lazy.
Yeah, and so sometimes two quick things. If you start to get very frustrated that you can't breathe into the lower diaphragmatic area, then just give yourself permission not to right now and put it on your calendar in 2 weeks, and you can do it again and try it again in 2 weeks. Second thing is sometimes our spine, the muscles and the tissue and the fascia in our concave areas of our spine have become so tight and so bound up for so many years that sometimes that is what is causing our ribs and our spine and our muscles to not release and get breath in there. So just know that sometimes the spine needs some mobilizing exercises in the concave area in order to be able to let the lung drop back and down. So I have in my book, Analyze Scoliosis, I have some exercises for mobilizing the concave area, like traction and things like that. So if you are doing this at home and you get super frustrated because it's just not dropping down, you might have to do some mobilizing there first, and that's okay.
Yes, you were talking about, Erin, in the book that you can do traction of, like, you know, a kitchen sink and areas that you have in your home already. Is that right?
Yeah. You don't have to have Scruff bars or Pilates equipment or anything else. Get a reinforced closet rod in your closet and hang off of it. Hang off of a door banister, or of a stair banister, a kitchen sink, a bathroom sink, a door jamb, the corner between walls. I mean, everyone can find something to traction from and hang from.
And how do you suggest, Erin, because some people, there's different schools of thought, and or some people say to retract the shoulder blades so that you bring the traction more into your trunk. Like how would you like guide someone to do traction at home?
Can I bring you through it real quick?
Sure.
All right. So I'm going to have you stand up, and actually right by your plant, I see a column that's kind of sticking out. That white column.
By the plant.
To your left. Yeah. To your left. Keep going. Now go to the left of your plant. Right there. That white column. Yes. Now, yes. Now walk to me a little bit, and you're going to have your left hand go up higher than your right hand, and hold onto the side of the column. And I want you have your hand rotate like 90 degrees, so you're holding onto the other side of the column so you can pull away from it. Yes. And you can drop your right hand down a little lower. Yeah, or not at all. And now just pull away so that you find a stretch in the left concave area of your upper curve. My goal is that you're going to feel a stretch, hopefully in your lats on that left side, the latissimus dorsi. It's going to probably feel the armpit area. What'd you say, Eva?
Yeah, here.
Yep. So sometimes it's that tissue that gets so bound and tight that you can't get breath into that left side. So you just stay as long as you need, Eva. And now if you wanted to add more, while you're in that traction, add breath in your left side, and it should increase stress.
Oh my God, that's intense.
That's how you know. So can you put words to what that intense feeling feels like, Eva, so everyone knows?
It kind of feels sore, but kind of in a good type of way, where it's like it's uncomfortable, but that's how you kind of know that it's opening up. It's not the kind of painful sore. It's the like you need to do this kind of sore.
Yep. Cool. So sometimes people feel like it's muscle, like it's a big achy stretch. Some people feel like it's a fascial stretch. That's what I oftentimes feel. Sometimes it may be just a little area. Sometimes it may be from the hand all the way down to the waist, maybe even the leg, depending on how long that fascial band or train is that's tight. And when I am very tight and I do it, it almost feels like a long, hot sheath of tissue. Mine usually feels hot and long, but not everyone's does. Are you getting any kind of a release, Eva, or is it still really tight?
No, I am getting a release. I'm starting to feel it up, like as you were saying, that long tissue. It's going all the way down here as well.
Awesome. So sometimes, like right where you were feeling in your left low back, Eva, interestingly, the concave convex area of your low lumbar curve, interestingly, might be bound up from your armpit.
From the waist?
From your armpit. The tight part of your lat and the concave area of your upper left curve might be the root at why your low left curve and the QL is so tight.
Oh, no kidding. Oh, really?
Yep.
Well, so, I never thought of that.
Yeah, so that's the thing, is how connected the whole Scoli body is. Now, yeah, when you come out of it, how are you feeling?
Yeah, it feels good.
Yeah. I know. It's a lot.
It's good though. It feels like a necessary type of pain.
Yeah. So in the beginning, that's what I would start everyone at home with right now. When you're stuck at home and you're in pain, I want you to know that there's no reason for you to be in pain. And it takes a little bit of time to figure this stuff out. But once you figured out where, I need to do side pads with you. Once you figured out where pads go, and then starting to play around with a few tractions, that may take you a while to figure out how to do. Then we can talk about how to start to exercise and what needs to exercise and how. But before we can even go there, you got to know where pads go. So last thing is side pads. So when you're on your side, you're going to use a pad. And not a trick question, we're working through this. Does the pad go here to force the spine up, or does the pad go here to fill in the space?
I feel like it goes the first one to derotate the spine. Totally. Am I right?
So this one, when we're doing with the lateral side, it would be pushing this up to really start to straighten the side to the curve and decrease Cobb angle. So we would put it at the apex and to literally shove the spine up to make it more of a straight line, or even go the opposite way. If you had a fused spine, you would put it in the concave area to not allow the back to move.
And so with like, just say like a C curve, Erin, like you would just focus, obviously you only have one curve to focus on, so you would just do the apex of the rib cage. Is that right?
Yep. You always put it at the apex. It when in doubt, you put it in the apex of the major curve.
Okay.
Of the biggest Cobb angle, that's where it goes. And so some people, like I've got a double curve, but I don't like putting one in my lower back. So if I switch the other way, on this side, theoretically for myself, because I have the same curve pattern as you, I would put it here. But for me, that's not very comfortable because I have like no waistline. So for me, my waistline, like from the bottom of my ribs to the top of my ilium, it's like 2 inches.
It's tiny torso.
I just don't have very much torso. So if I put a pad when I'm on my side and I put it right here, it's forcing my floating ribs to go forward, and it just doesn't feel good. So for me, I don't put one there. For me, I don't put a pad here. I just focus on breathing this side down. But on this side, I absolutely put a pad here to force the spine to go up.
So would you say, like, because I know a lot of people, Erin, they have that where they feel like their ribs are like touching their hips. Would you say for that type of person, generally for the lower back, they probably don't enjoy padding as much?
Yeah, it just depends, but possibly. So if someone feels like on one side their ribs touch their pelvis, it's usually because lumbar curvature is really, really got a pretty intense Cobb angle. And so everything is starting to squish on the concave side of that lumbar curve. So
Okay, that makes total sense. Yeah.
And it may be because the curve is so acute, or it's because they have like no waistline to begin with and the curve is minor. So it just depends. So let's play around with padding for you on your side so everyone can see what that looks like.
Okay, great. Let's do that.
And this is the trick. So if we look at this, when you're laying on your right side, the pad goes right here, where it already is in the diagram sketch. When you're laying on your left side, we put it in the same place where it's already in your diagram sketch. So we don't need to write anything new.
So yeah, either in the apex of the curve or the lumbar or the pelvis, wherever you put it in the lower back.
So for you, we're always going to start with the major curve, and for you, it's your thoracic curve. So you're going to get that purple yoga mat that's behind you is a perfect size. So I like a little bit of a thicker pad, and you're going to lay, facing us or facing me, and that's going to go at the apex of your thoracic curve. And for most people's thoracic curves, it's almost like it's up into your armpit. So wiggle down to the couch a little bit more. Yeah. There we go. There we go. So, how does that feel, Eva?
Yeah, that feels like it's coming back this way, but also deeply stretching it this side as well.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I could see the look on your face. I was like, okay, I think that's a good thing. Yeah, and that's the thing with your spine is that, everyone who has a spinal Scoli story that isn't quite straightforward, we have to swim through some muddy water and do some experiments to see how we're going to handle it. So does it feel safe, Eva, for your spine?
Yeah, it feels like if I stayed in it long enough that like kind of tension start to kind of like melt away and I like gently start to rotate this way.
Awesome. So now the breath pattern is the exact same. So it's going to be your upper left concave area, the side that's in the cave, that squish that you were breathing on your back in and when you did your traction. And for some people, including your back, Eva, this might feel like a traction in that upper left curve.
It actually does, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a stretch.
Yep. And now I want you to take 3 pretty forceful breaths in your upper left rib cage and think about blowing up a balloon in your upper left back part of your rib cage. See how much you can expand it. Yep. That's it. And so the goal is with all of this stuff in the beginning is know where the pads go, which you have to do the diagram or the pictures first and then the diagram, the dot stickers and then the diagram. And then you've got to know, and then you've got to play around with the size of the padding, a few tractions, padding on your back, padding on your side. And yeah, that's nice, Eva. And then I need you to feel like you're starting to get breath and movement in the concave areas. And once that starts to open up, then we can start to talk about exercising. But if that concave area is bound down and tight, when you're exercising, it's almost like you're just exercising and twisting yourself up more or keeping yourself in that position. You've got to always open up that concave area first. Yeah, Eva, your rib cage has totally rotated backwards. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's unreal.
Happy Eva. So let's experiment with the left side. With your
oh my God, that was unreal, Erin.
I'm thinking it's quite unlikely that you're going to want to pad under your waistline or your hip. But let's try, because sometimes I'm wrong.
Let's give it a go, sure. So we want to pad under here.
Yeah, you can either do waistline or you can do hip. And let's just experiment. You just have to make sure that it's not under any part of the top curve, because we want that left side to drop down. Yeah. How does that feel? Drop back. So remember, so stack back up, Eva. So remember that your upper right rib cage likes to go back already.
Yeah, it wants to go back this way. Oh, it naturally wants to go back this way.
Exactly. So you're going to have to think left rib cage down and back.
Left rib cage down and back, okay.
Yeah, so focus on the left side, on your rib cage, because that's going to be the hardest part for you to focus on. And then once you've got that breath pattern down in, then take a tally in how your right waistline's feeling. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Does the pad feel like it's beneficial, Eva?
Not too much, Erin, just because I think I'm the same as you, where I don't have that much like space to put it into.
Yeah, that's for you. I can see you a little bit struggling to figure out where your breath goes. And does it feel like it's a little bit awkward or painful?
Yeah, it's a little bit hard to locate the breath on in the left upper.
Yeah. So for you, it's the same as me. When you're laying on your waistline, let's try not doing it real quick and just see how it feels. Because even without this, you can still force the breath on the upper left rib cage to go down into the floor. There we go. You know what, Eva? Let's bring your right hand and bend it and put it on the floor in front of you. Just like that. Bend the elbow so the elbow's to the ceiling. Yep. Bring your hand down like 6. Yes, right there. Because your right side already likes to open. So pull that right shoulder down and back. There we go. Now that right side is down. Can you open the left side up or open the left side so you're thinking breathe into the floor. Almost trying to push the floor away with your breath.
Yeah, I can feel that a lot better now without the pad.
Yep. So for Eva's back, everyone, the padding on the lumbar side was just not a winner. But I don't know. You're gonna have to try it to figure it out for yourself.
Yeah, you just have to experiment with your own body to see what feels good.
Yep. And most of us that have Scoli that have never started to work out before, we're a little bit numb to how our body actually feels. We've just chosen to not check in. Sometimes maybe for fear of what it tells us. So I want to give you permission to do exactly what Eva's doing, where she's just totally zoning out from me and zoning into herself, which is so good. Yeah, from Eva and all her podcasts, she's so happy and chirpy with everybody, but I want you to see what she's doing, where she just literally goes internal to think about where breath goes, talking to her body, seeing what her body is telling her back. Because our body is speaking to us all the time. Most of us just ignore what our body's telling us. And sometimes it speaks another language. So if we are unfamiliar with the language that our body is speaking, like pain is your body speaking to you. Some of us don't want to know the language that our body is telling us when we are feeling pain. So don't be alarmed if when you're doing this for the first time, some of you start to feel emotional as you start to unravel some of the layers of what your body's been telling you for years. And it's okay. It's totally okay. And this step for some of you guys, you may be able to speed through it, and you may do it in a few days, and you've got it, and the pads feel good, and you're like, okay, I want more. And some of you may be working on this for months, because every time you land your pads, you cry. And that's okay too. And that's totally okay. So we're all going to be at our own speed. How you feeling, Eva?
Yeah, I can almost, I can start to feel like my left side kind of pulsating, and I start to feel like there's kind of pins and needles in my left hand a bit here. It's like it's really just being released.
So yeah, so if your left hand, when you're laying on the arm, if it starts to feel numb, then it would probably be time to come out of it, unless it feels okay. But I would say,
that's good, like, because it feels like, do you know, like if you stay in a pose a really long time, it starts to feel like there's like energy almost coming out of your hands or your limbs.
Yep.
It's kind of that type of feeling.
Sometimes I find that the concave areas of my curvature, of which your left arm is falling off of that, because your curvature goes up into your right arm and your shoulder. Are you right-handed, Eva?
Yes.
Yeah. So am I. So my left side, my left concave area, including my arm, it's kind of like the ugly stepsister that gets ignored in the corner of the house. And it just is a little numb. My right side is strong and has great coordination. And my left side, like I don't even know it's there sometimes. So forcing the body to think about the left side and to breathe into the left side, that's a big step. I've even started doing things with my left arm to bring attention to the left concave area. Like I'll scrub dishes with my left hand, and I feel totally like a kindergartner. I'm like, scrub the dish. Why will my left arm? And it's just the coordination of my whole left side. It's definitely not the same as my right. So
I can totally relate to you. Like, I find even when I'm rubbing classes on the board, I want to do it with my right hand, and then I do it with the left, and it's like so much slower. And I even find like this arm is skinnier than this arm because this arm is working a lot more than this one.
Totally. So when you do this, just think of the arm or the leg that is coming off of the concave side. Think of that appendage as being an extension of the curve in your Scoli. And sometimes that side needs just a little bit more love, and that's okay. And that's just something that your body may reveal to you over time.
You know, it's so funny, Erin, because I used to think like for the longest time, I thought that like my convex side was my weaker side because I thought that the muscles there were overstretched and they weren't working as efficiently. And I thought like my concave was the strongest side. But the more I look into it, the more I realize that like, no, the pain is there and your right arm is working because these muscles are the workhorse muscles and the other ones are just not turning on.
Exactly. So the convex area, these muscles are longer because they have to go around the curve. They're longer and they are overstretched, but they are also on all the time. So, and they're on, some people, they're in spasm all the time. They are stronger than the other side. And then same for down here. And if you look at that picture, let's see if I can pull it up real quick. The picture of your back, So these muscles are longer. And if you look closely, you can see that these left lumbar muscles are more developed than that side.
Much more developed. So even if you just feel it, it's like the left is like, oh, tight.
Yeah. So then it's these left convex muscles that are more developed, which means that the concave muscles are shorter and weaker. So it's this that is shorter and weaker. I used the yellow. That was probably not a wise choice.
And that's okay.
And it's that's shorter and weaker, which is why this has to get tractioned out. And this has to get tractioned out and to get longer. And once they become longer by padding and breathing and tractioning and stretching, then we can start to strengthen them. Because yes, they are shorter, or yes, they are weaker, but they are also shorter. So if you're lumped into your Scoli curves, if you're into your Scoli curve here, and we're strengthening you in your Scoli curve, we're making this concave side stronger, but it's still short. So we need to lengthen this concave out with breath and traction. And once it's mobilized and out, at that point, that's when we can strengthen.
That makes total sense, Erin.
Making you stronger in your Scoli.
Well, you need to lengthen it first.
Gotta lengthen it first. And sometimes with some people, it just takes a while because that tissue's really bound. It may be a week, it may be much longer than a week, and that's okay. On that note, last thing is so this is a hard concept, what you brought up, Eva, about which one is longer and stronger. That this is the natural progression of someone that has Scoli. The convex side is beefier and bigger. The concave side is asleep and smaller. Is just not doing anything because the convex side is working so hard that the concave side is like, I don't need to work. I'll just stay off. I'm going to go take a nap.
He's a lazy boy.
Totally. So I have a bunch of this stuff written in my book, but I also have a blog post on my site, spiralspine.com. So one of my favorite athletes of all time that has scoliosis is Usain Bolt, the Jamaican.
Oh my God, yes!
Is the Jamaican sprinter. Yeah. So if you look up his back, and I have a picture on my site, but you can also just type in like Usain Bolt scoliosis or Usain Bolt back. And you will see that his trainers, the way that they stabilized his scoliosis, and his scoliosis stemmed from a true leg length discrepancy. I think one of his femurs is like 3/4 of an inch longer than the other. So the way he's got an S that's in like the lumbar thoraco area. The way that his trainers stabilized his curvatures, and you can see it by the way that his muscles have been developed in the back, is that the muscles in his concave area are bigger than the muscles in his convex area.
Wow.
That did not happen by accident. Oh, Usain was born like that. No. It's interesting to read his autobiography about how he ended up always getting injuries, and finally they went and talked to a Scoli doctor, and they started doing some different techniques on how to strengthen his core and his spine. And if you look at the muscles, you can figure out that they lengthened and strengthened the muscles in the concave areas, and that is how they stabilized his spine. That is how he stopped getting in pain all the time and having injury.
That's unbelievable, Erin.
Yeah. So,
have you ever heard of a guy called Lamar Gant before?
Mm-mm.
Oh, Erin, you have to look him up. He is Lamargant. He was a power lifter in the 1970s. Severe scoliosis. He's only like 5'2", and he holds the world record for the person who's deadlifted the most amount of weight. He deadlifted 5 times his own body weight. He was, I think, 60 kilos. And he still holds the record for deadlifting the most amount of weight per body weight for a person of his size. Look him up. He's unbelievable.
I wrote it down. I'm going to research that later. That's amazing. So he must have, in order for him to have been able to do that, I got to find a picture of his back. If you can ever find a picture of his back, send it to me.
I'll send it on to you. It's pretty unbelievable.
Which means the natural progression for him would have been the convex side would have been stronger, but he must have done some individual work to strengthen and lengthen his concave side. Otherwise, he would never have been able to lift all that weight with his curvature.
Yeah, I imagine he had to do some sort of stabilization, like, because he was actually like an athlete, like he trained in powerlifting meets and stuff, and he never got his scoliosis treated through surgery. Yeah. It's pretty unbelievable, Erin.
I love it. Oh, you gave me someone to research. That's so exciting.
Yes, I think you love him. He was
totally. I love
that guy in 1970s, Lamar Gant. I think he's American. 5 times his own body weight deadlift.
Easy. Okay, what other questions do you have for me, Eva?
If someone wants to access this information, Erin, I know like you have a ton of resources on the web, but where would you direct someone who's maybe maybe they have a sneaking suspicion they have scoliosis, they might be feeling anxiety about it, but they don't know where to go or where to turn to or where to start? Where would you direct this person to?
Yeah, so I would go to my website, spiralspine.com, and on the site, we have a thing that just says start here. And we've put all these resources together. Read this blog post, watch this free video, and you'll be able to put your big toe into the water and just start to read, start to watch some stuff as much as you feel like you can handle. And then if you want more, the deep end of the Atlantic Ocean is this, which is Analyzing Scoliosis, the Pilates Instructor's Guide to Scoliosis. And it's what you're reading right now. And it's a lot, but it goes through all the research that I've found and how to in-depthly do what we're doing right now. And that you can get that on Amazon. You can also find it on my website. Some of the people, they just want to watch the starting point videos, which are maybe 5 to 8 free videos on spiralspine.com. And it goes through what we're doing here. This is how you take dot sticker pictures, 3 minutes. This is how you do diagram sketch, 3 minutes. This is how you use a scoliometer, 3 minutes. And they're just little pieces. You guys can do that really easily at home. I have maybe 7 workout videos that you can stream. And once you know where pads are, you can stream those videos and you can do them at home during this time. All those links are on my site. So, and if you have a specific body issue or you're really frustrated or you have no idea what's going on or you just want someone to help you through this, I or my staff can do virtual lessons with people. So you can, all that's on spiralspine.com, and I can help you do this. I can give you some at-home exercises. And so I've been working with people all around the world for years. So it's exciting. That's what you just have to start. You have to start owning your Scoli, and I can't own it for you. As much as I would like to handle your Scoli, I can't do it for you. Just like even with my kids, as much as I want them to be smart and do all this stuff, I can't do any of that stuff for them, even though they live in my house. They have to do it for themselves. They don't have Scoli, but with all their stuff that they have to own it. And all you guys, you have to own it too. You can't own it unless you know how it manifests itself in your body. And then once you know that, then it becomes less scary.
Yeah, and that's the thing, Erin, is once you actually have that awareness of what's going on in your body, it takes the fear away. But at the start, I know, at least for myself years ago, it was like a lot to take in, like convex, concave, rotate, like what is this? So I suggest, like, just educate yourself. Go on to Erin's website. She's highly knowledgeable, and if you really are just like boggled down by it, like, book a lesson with her. And when it's actually specific and tailored to your individual scoliosis, you'll find that you just have like you'll have some aha moments for sure.
Yeah, and it just because you have scoliosis does not mean you have to live a life of pain. It just means that you haven't, or someone hasn't figured out how to unlock the certain areas of your spine yet. So it's not necessarily saying that we can get your spine straight, but we can definitely decrease pain. We just have to start one step at a time, going through the journey in that process.
Yeah, and like you can live a good quality of life even if you have like a severe scoliosis. But as Erin always talks about, like, it's just about finding that recipe that's going to work for your body, and it might have to be a couple of things. Maybe you'll have to do traction, and maybe you'll need some rolfing, and maybe you'll need some strengthening, but you just experiment around and don't give up hope, because there is a recipe out there for everyone's scoliosis.
Totally. Preach it, girl.
Coming straight from the queen herself. Thank you, Erin. I've actually learned like so much from you. Like it's funny, like, what you live in the body of scoliosis, but like sometimes you walk around like so unaware of what's actually going on in your body, and until you like talk to someone who has been there, done that, like written the book, like then you start to become like, oh, that makes sense. That's why I'm feeling that. So it's great. And thank you so much.
You're so welcome, Eva. And guys, if you guys have questions, contact Eva or contact me. There's no reason in this amazing age of technology that you need to live in the dark over any of this.
Yes, please, guys, do not be afraid to reach out. Erin's passionate, likes to help people, same ditto, and you don't need to be alone. So come on and let's get you better.
All right, thanks for chatting, Eva. Time for me to continue homeschooling my kids downstairs.
Bless you, Erin. Thank you so much for taking this time, and I think I'll upload this onto YouTube so people can actually see what's going on, and I'll send you a little link to it when I do.
Great. That's awesome. Thanks, Eva.
Thank you so much, Erin. Bless you.
Bye.
Bye.